Welcome and thank you for joining SPC International's State of the Industry webcast, brought to you by our sponsor CarrierSales and their strategic partners that offer the ability to add additional complementary monthly recurring revenue streams to existing traditional MSP and cloud revenues. Our topic today is increasing business value through additional complementary revenue streams, and I'll be joined by special guests assembled by CarrierSales to deliver today's webcast. My name is Eric Simpson. I'm Vice President and CIO of SPC International, and I've got a few years of experience in the IT industry. My background includes building out call centers and service desks for Fortune 1000 organizations. And again, I want to appreciate you taking the time to spend with us today to learn some techniques that we use as MSPs in our practice to grow additional recurring revenues, and introductions to CarrierSales and their strategic partners. So our agenda today is the topic of increasing that value. We've got some very specific guidance for that. We're going to discuss how CarrierSales can help, and we're going to introduce you to a few of CarrierSales strategic partners and how you can get started in realizing these additional revenue streams. So let me start off by saying that what I want you to think about as we go through today's session is to understand that managed services and even cloud services are only one component in a comprehensive, business-focused, overall recurring revenue stream service philosophy. And what I want to talk to you about in my section is how we dramatically increased our recurring revenues with additional complementary high-margin monthly recurring revenue services, and how you can do the same thing. So as VARS and MSPs, we started our IT practice in 1997. We transitioned to one of the first pure-play MSP practices in Southern California in the industry in 2005, and we developed an advanced recurring revenue service philosophy, and I'm going to share that with you today. So our core competencies as IT providers and MSPs were basically three deliverables: managed services, which include what you would assume to be part of the deliverable, which would be on-site and remote support, remote service desk, network monitoring, patching and updating, and vendor management. We also delivered a lot of projects, messaging collaboration projects, infrastructure upgrade projects, you name it. We were Microsoft Gold certified partners at the time, and we helped build our clients' infrastructures utilizing the latest technologies at the time. We also focused on business continuity and disaster recovery planning. We're talking about the plans themselves. So those were our core competencies. That's what we were really, really good at delivering. And I want you to think about what you're really, really good at delivering today yourselves, and make those your core competencies. For everything else that you aren't an expert at delivering, that you can't deliver better than anyone else, I want you to consider outsourcing and partnering with strategic vendor partners and fulfillment partners to deliver those services. And on this slide, you see our top 3 monthly recurring revenue partnering deliverables. These were deliverables that we partnered with a strategic vendor or a fulfillment partner in order to deliver these services to our existing client base. These included voice over IP services, voice long distance and broadband services, and T1s, integrated T1s, and PRI or voice circuits. So take a look at this slide here. Over the span of 18 months, a whopping 40% of our MRR revenue came from these additional partnering deliverables. 60% of our monthly recurring revenues came from our core deliverables, the managed services deliverables, and the other ancillary recurring revenue products and services that went along with those. So I want you to think about that, and think about what is 100% of your managed services, what are 100% of your managed services deliverables today? Now add another 40% with additional complementary recurring revenue services. That's exactly what we did, and that's what we're here to talk to you about today and guide you through this. So let me share with you 5 of our powerful complementary recurring revenue concepts. I've already talked about the first one. identifying your core deliverables. Remember, these are deliverables that you deliver better than anyone else. Don't outsource those or hand those off to another strategic partner if you can help it. Now, if it's a growth issue and you've got to look for additional help that way, that's a different consideration. But I'm talking about figure out what your core deliverables are that you want to deliver, that you earn the highest margin from delivering yourself. Now, next, locate the complementary annuity-based products and services that you can offer to your existing clients and new prospects. Now, I want you to prioritize these in terms of the low-hanging fruit. On the previous slide, I showed you where our partnering deliverables were. These were areas where we could show a cost reduction or a significant value benefit from our existing clients and prospects for signing up for those services. So find the low-hanging fruit: telecom, virtualization, cloud services, low-hanging fruit. Locate those complementary products and services, and then build the partnering relationships with your strategic partners for these services. Okay, so those are the top three. Now, you've got to manage every single one of your partnering relationships. You become more of a project manager and a relationship manager when you're building out a solution stack of additional complementary MRR services delivered through strategic vendor partners and fulfillment partners. So you've got to manage those partnering relationships directly, and you manage your client relationships directly. They have to know that you are the trusted business partner that has their best needs clearly in focus when you're evaluating additional products and services to bring them. And when project implementation and service implementation begins, you're managing those entire projects. So you become a key strategic resource to your existing clients, which increases your value to them in the business relationship. And that's what increases longevity and increases long-term client value. So remember, the more additional services you deliver into your existing client base, the stickier you become, the longer term the relationships become, and the more apt they are to say yes when you sit down and are doing their quarterly business reviews and introducing these additional services to increase their effectiveness, efficiencies, availability, and in some cases reduce their overall costs. So those are really quickly some of the concepts that I wanted you to frame up in your mind as we continue through today's session. And now I'd like to bring Jack Naki on. Jack is going to take these and peel back the onion for us and take us a little bit deeper into every single one of these different scenarios that I just talked about. So Jack, you've been I hear you now. So you've been a great strategic partner for SPC International and for our partners. Welcome back. And we're looking forward to hearing what you've got to say in terms of really focusing in on the very important key aspects of bringing on these additional complementary annuity-based services.
Thanks, Eric, and I really appreciate you bringing me onto this call today, and thanks everyone for your attention and your attendance today. Let me just give you a little bit of background on myself. My background is accounting, finance, telecom, and some mergers and acquisitions. Most recently, what I've been doing is working with MSPs and VARS to help them build channel programs in cloud and telecom. So that's what I want to talk to you today about. I want to talk to you about building the business model in cloud and telecom. And the first point that I'd like to make is, well, it jumped past me. The first point is when you're looking at gross profits in a standard VAR model, IDC research said that there's typically a 34% gross margin. When those VARs add services, that gross margin goes up to 49%. When you add additional cloud and telecom services, you're averaging in gross margin at 100% because typically you don't have any cost in that in one of the first models that we're going to be talking about today. Again, IDC and CompTIA industry studies have shown that companies, domestic U.S. companies, spend roughly 32% of their IT spend on telecom. That's a huge opportunity for you. So what I want to do is I want to walk through the opportunity for you to create business value around that, because as someone who's been on the telecom side, working with telecom agents and working with IT solution providers, IT solution provider business models are very well positioned to capitalize on this revenue opportunity. You guys have the partnership relationships, you have the technical knowledge, you have all of the technical infrastructure with these companies, so you're in a great position for that. So what I want to talk to now is, let's talk about the business model. Why is it important for you to look at recurring revenues, and how are they going to drive value to your business if you're looking at an exit strategy or if you're just looking at making more revenue every day of the week? And so let's look at the value drivers. In a typical VAR upfront sales model where you sell a piece of equipment, you get paid one time, the next month you start all over again and you have to sell a piece of equipment to have revenues. When you're looking at a value driver for a business, predictability in that monthly recurring revenue is very important. So they're looking at the predictability of it, the profitability of it, the gross margin, and how you compare to other companies. And then again, what your revenue diversity is. Are you centered around 1 or 2 relationships, or do you have 5 or 10 key relationships so that your revenue is diversified? So recurring revenues is a very important concept, and it's a really good value driver for businesses. So I wanted to kind of talk to you about that in a quick model. And so what we've done here is we've created just a quick little revenue model to show you if you sold $100 monthly recurring revenue, an MRR for a customer, versus all the way up to $100,000 a month with a mid-market or enterprise customer. And the key metrics here is what is the value of the revenues that that customer's paying on their bill, and what's the resale margin you're able to get, what's the contract term, how many times do they renew that, and what's your lifetime opportunity with this customer sale. So let me go through the highlighted column there. $10,000 in monthly recurring revenues. In many cases, this doesn't have to be a very large company to be there. If they're using a lot of data and voice, that is an easy number to hit. The term of a typical contract is about 36 months, so the contract value of that $10,000 a month sale is $360,000. On average, customers will renew that contract twice. So that'll give you a total of 9 years within that contract on average. If we apply a commission rate of 8% for demonstration purposes, that's a monthly commission of $800. Over the course of that first 36-month period, that's $28,800. And over the course of the life of that contract, that's $86,000. And you can look at the columns before and after and see how that impacts, the value opportunity. Obviously, if you're selling a $100,000 deal, you've got a great opportunity there. So then, continuing on the business case, we've got to ask a lot of questions. And I like to quote one of the VARs that I spoke to recently who said, I don't want to leave money on the table, but I also want to stay focused on my core competency. So that's a key mantra in this whole presentation that you're going to see today, is we need to ask the questions: where do we start? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? How do we keep ourselves very focused on our business, but also ask all the right questions? Okay? So let me go through and talk about the business model. If you're going to build this case, how do you build the business model? Well, the first step is you want to estimate your revenue potential. Then you're going to want to look at your existing products and services to make sure that you've got a smooth transition of selling something you're already selling, supporting something you're already selling, and make that a good transition to additional products and services. And then look at how you want to enter into that market, and then execute, manage, and track. So it's a clear path, it's a standard business model that you would run through. And let me look at this. I'm going to take each one of these 5 mantras with you and just kind of go through each one. So first, you have to quantify the value of your customer base. And what we've got is, we're going to send you all a tool at the end of this webinar that is an Excel spreadsheet that will allow you to look at the number of customers that you have in each one of these different categories, whether they have 1 to 5 customers, or 10 to 20, or if they're all the way up to 500 to 2,000 employees within that company. So we'll give you an opportunity to identify how many customers you have each in one of those categories. It'll calculate out an estimated revenue value for them, and then we'll apply a penetration rate so that you can see, well, I think I can penetrate 10% of my customers or 40%, and it'll give you an opportunity to look at the value of your customer base, because that's the first step that you need to look at. What is this going to be worth? Is it going to be something that's important? The next step, integrating with your existing products and services. So that step is going to be internally focused for yourselves. You're going to want to look at your products and services and how they relate to cloud, data center connectivity, disaster recovery, security, all of these different things that your customers are looking to do and how they relate to your existing product set. And there's an array of products. I'm going to let the guys that are going to speak after me talk more about those products and where they go. Then let's look at the financial model. Once you understand what your revenue opportunity is, you've got to, once again, look internally and find out how are you going to compensate your staff, what's your level of knowledge of telecom, and how much you want to be involved, because there are a lot of different business cases. You can refer business over to a company like CarrierSales, get paid a monthly recurring commission, and still be involved in the selling process, still own the customer, all the way up to a resale model where you have to do billing, collections, etc. They're very different in those models, and the folks at CarrierSales can help you understand what the pros and cons of each one of those are. But that's one of the things you have to figure out is what's your investment commitment and what are you looking for as a payout. Next step is to align with a partner. Once again, guys that are going to talk after me are going to help you understand why you're going to want to find a partner who's going to help you find complementary products, who's going to complement the core strengths that you have that you want to stay focused with, and provide the support that you guys are going to need. So a lot of different opportunities for co-marketing, making sure that your cultures are going to match, and there's definitely some substantial profitability in this for you. You're going to find that out when you look at that model. Final step is executing and managing. This is standard business. You've got to go in and internally look at your business, look at your customers, your staff, your systems, figure out where your strengths are and how you're going to be able to integrate this. Next, go out and look externally at vendors and partnerships that are going to be most appropriate, and then set timelines for marketing, sales, and operations. And the guys who are going to be following me today are going to be helping you. They do exactly this, partnered up with you. So the guys at CarrierSales and the other vendors that are talking today, pay close attention. I think they're going to help you with this business model. So I want to turn this back to Eric, if you can go ahead and introduce our next speaker.
Thanks very much, Jack. Appreciate that. So you made a couple of very salient comments here, and on your slide that reflected the commissions, I just wanted to share one thing that we discovered to our benefit is when selling these types of services, there will be times when you leave a client or a client leaves you. It happens to everybody. But what the client will not stop doing is paying their bill for these additional services. So we had clients, over a 10-year period of time that renewed their service agreements time after time, and then we had clients that we no longer had a relationship after a period of time, but they still paid their bills. And what does that mean? We still received commissions for those sales years after we may have ended a relationship with a client. So I wanted to have the team, the attendees, think about that as well. So even if they don't purchase other recurring revenue services from you, managed services or cloud services, some of these other complementary services for telecom and VoIP and these other things, they will purchase from you. So there is a way for you to earn additional recurring revenues even beyond the relationship with a client when that ends. So having said that, I don't want to take too much of the storm away from Richard Murray, who's the president of CarrierSales and sponsor of today's webcast. Richard, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I'm looking forward to hearing you describe just what makes CarrierSales different and your reach and your capabilities and helping our partners really roll into a new reality that makes it easy for them to begin selling these services, and then over time, if they choose to, increase their participation and increase potential commissions to them over time. So thanks again for joining us, Richard.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Jack, very much. Just to start off, frankly, I really hate talking about myself, but that's the slide that's up. So I'm going to do it just really quickly, just so that you understand that I'm involved daily and committed to this program, and that I'm really very committed to the overall health of the independent channel. I've been in telecom most of my professional career and have a sales and financial background. And at my time in Carrier, I've really tried to focus on operations as a way to help us stand out. I'm currently serving on 4 different advisory councils for major carriers, really with my focus trying to be an industry advocate for partners and for our customers. But the last thing to know about me is I'm currently chairman of the board for the industry's largest coalition of master distributors. And so I'm involved in daily discussions with carriers and with other thought leaders within the industry about how we can move the industry forward. Just to introduce my company a little bit real quickly. CarrierSales has been doing this since it was just long distance that you could do as a broker. We've been through the heydays of Centrex 21, through Frame Relay, MPLS, and now the cloud. Through that, we've now grown to where we're now managing some of the largest names in the nation and really have built an incredible team of people to help support our partners as a way to differentiate ourselves from the other master brokers that are out there. There are a lot of masters out there, but we've always strived to be different. In fact, recently, just a few weeks ago, I had a Telecom VP introduce me by saying our company was the best kept secret in telecom. And for me, that really speaks to the fact that we're about substance. We like to invest in people rather than marketing. I like to invest in my partners and in their success, while my competitors can go invest in their marketing. I want to invest into my partners' marketing. As an example of that and our dedication to building out a great team, I should point out most of my team has at least 20 years experience. Some are higher, some are a little bit lower. But as an example, just my CenturyLink team alone has a combined 278 years of telecom experience. Now, some of them don't like to highlight how many years of experience they are of that chunk, but we really do bring in good quality people with a lot of experience to help drive combined success for our partners. What I want to make sure that you know is that we've done this before, over and over again with other VARs and MSPs. We've helped those that have tried before and failed become successful, and we've helped introduce VARs to it that are completely new. For me, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Each business model is slightly different. So the key to me is really getting in, understanding your business model. We have to focus and we have to communicate and understand each other. We've done it before with 3-man shops, and we've done it with large regional MSPs. To cover just a quick example with Luan Technologies, they had their own direct agreements. They had a small telecom sales department, but frankly they were really going nowhere, and they were struggling with sales because they were also trying to manage the implementation. They went out to RFP, they looked at a few other master brokers, and they chose us. They transferred their agreement over to us, and most importantly, they handed over all of the back office functions to us. In the 3 years that they've been working with us, their sales have grown 50%. They have telecom specialists that work directly with their customers to manage the relationship and help sell new products, but we provide all of the back office for that. Because of that, they've been able to grow their department. They've added headcount, and recently they've actually added a new telecom director so they can maximize what they see as a real benefit to their overall company. Really with the key focus on that being that by letting them focus on what they're good at, managing their customer relationships, and then using us as an extension and overlay of their offering and their team, they've been able to see incredible success. Another one I'll touch on real quickly is with Mountain West. They also had direct agreements, but frankly, they had a few they were at risk of losing because they weren't performing at high enough levels, or they were making inferior compensation on them. They had tried different telecom focuses, they had hired different people, and they had failed over and over again. What we help them do is form a partnership with one of our independent telecom specialists, and through that partnership, they've seen incredible success as they've been able to maximize their relationships and increase sales. They also rolled some of their contracts over to us to help protect the existing base. And you know, a lot of you responded that maybe the money isn't worth it for them. I will tell you that even though they're only involved in kind of teeing off the relationship and kind of directing it from a quarterback standpoint, they're not having to do the day-to-day sales and implementation. They just closed a $100,000 opportunity that they will see about $8,000 a month in recurring revenue. And this is an opportunity that is just going to continue to grow, that they won't have to be doing the work to have it grow, but they will see the increase in revenue. To highlight very quickly one other example, we've brought on a regional Cisco VAR that had never really done telecom, and they were nervous. They had some concerns about it. So we started out with just two main areas of focus. They did some easy bandwidth type sales that frankly are a little bit smaller, but they're very easy. And then we've also focused them on contact center deals, like within Contact that John will cover later. And these are perfect for them because they tend to be larger opportunities. And even if they start small, they always tend to grow. And so they've been a perfect fit for them. And they've really had a great start and great success in seeing new revenue added to their bottom line. I have other examples that we could go through that I won't just for time. But you know, for example, we've got a local partner that doesn't even ask to be paid on the opportunities. And I know that's not what we're on the call for. But the point is they like to bring us in because we help solidify their relationship. We've also brought on recently, one of our partners was named Avaya's Newcomer of the Year last year. And we've helped integrate their back office, their sales team, into the network side that we do for them. I kind of started on this slide a little bit earlier, but to talk about what Eric and Jack talked about before, about focusing on your core competencies. My wife and I have known each other for 23 years, and when we were dating, every night as we would leave, my father-in-law would tell us, remember who you are and what you stand for. And I've always remembered that in multiple elements of my life, but I think it really applies to business as well. If you remember who you are and stay focused on your core business, you've been successful in what you've done. While the changing environment means you need to change a little bit, it doesn't mean that you have to lose what got you here. You just have to change a little, layer on products and services that are half step out to help you add more success and more revenue to your bottom line. As we go through a couple of the speakers today, I think they'll give you some specific examples and maybe help you see in how we can do that. For example, if you're selling Cisco and you're offering those boxes, well, we can help you easily layer on co-location and connectivity. And I think as we talk through some of these things, you'll see the way that you can just go a half step out and layer on these other services. Really, all you have to do is get us introduced and let us do the rest. At this point, I'd like to introduce Terry Stenlin, who is with CenturyLink. And as we thought through this process and this call today, obviously it was very important to me that I bring on, I've got a lot of different partners that I could have brought on this call, but for me it was important that we bring on people that understand the channel, that are committed to the channel, committed to convergence. And Terry's somebody that I've known for a really long time, and frankly CenturyLink is one of the best, and I think that they're the longest standing channel program out there. And Terry specifically, I knew him before he was my channel manager. He was actually in charge of CenturyLink's referral group program and helped build that out to what it is. And so he really understands what we're trying to accomplish today. And so with that, Terry, I turn the time over to you to talk through what CenturyLink can help these guys do to layer in other services.
Hey, Richard, thank you very much. Appreciate the kind words. And we have known each other for quite some time. Well, thanks, everyone, for being on the call as well. I want to do a quick case study today to kind of demonstrate the ease of adoption into the cloud for some of our customers, as well as show how companies like CenturyLink are opening up the marketplace to new competition. But before I get into that, let me do my slide. I first just want to kind of give a quick overview of CenturyLink for those of you who don't know us. We are one of the original regional bell operating companies. In short, we're a Tier 1 company. We own and operate our own network nationally as well as internationally, just to give you some idea there. And as you can see from the slides, we provide service to a majority of the Fortune 500 companies. And we do that all the way down to kind of the mom and pop shop that has telephone lines and DSL. So know that it's not just the Fortune 500 companies that we can help you with. So along with kind of our extensive network, let me move on to my slide. So along kind of with the extensive network that we have, we purchased a company several years ago, Savis, along with our assets, became the second largest co-location company and hosting company in the world. We've got over 55 data centers here and as well as overseas. And then we also acquired a company called Tier 3, and according to Gartner, we're one of the premier private and public cloud companies in the country. So again, kind of competing against Google and Amazon from a public cloud perspective, all the way up into some real individualized private clouds. So we kind of have an overall gamut from cloud, co-location, networking, and managed services to give really a kind of a combined package for your customers. And what does that really mean for you? It really means plenty of pieces and parts kind of fit into your business model to help you get deeper and wider within your customer base. And so that'll lead me right into my example of a customer that we've worked with. Kleinfelder is a customer of mine that I worked very closely with through one of my partners. And it's just kind of your standard mid-sized construction company. They had several locations spread out throughout the United States. And it was a small IT shop. I think we had 3 guys over there plus their CIO, so 4 people total to kind of manage this environment. And it was a network services customer of ours. So we had an MPLS network in place, kind of a wide area network for those of you not real familiar with the telecom side. And then we also had telephone service at their remote locations, whether that be POTS lines or T1s, but just kind of your standard network configuration for most of our customers. And so my agent went back in and simply asked a question of what are they doing or what is their road plan for cloud or virtualization strategy, and kind of opened up the conversation into cloud services. So once we got into that conversation, the customer got comfortable with us, and they moved over just a small environment for their test and dev and tried that out. $3,000 a month for additional revenues from that test and dev environment, which was a great add for us. Well, lo and behold, that test and dev environment worked well. They were able to put some of those things into production. They again got more comfortable with us and decided that they would take a chance on their Oracle with us. Again, at that point, they were maxed out on their Oracle, so they needed to order additional servers, additional licenses. And instead of doing that, they decided to bring that over to us. So again, another $15,000 in additional revenue for us. So once they got into really using the applications, they understood that it was secure for them, it was a stable environment for them, and then really the scalability of that environment, got them really thinking that, the cloud could be a great way for them to go. So, not to make it kind of cheesy or whatever, but bam, we got Microsoft Link from them for an additional $40,000, and then, a few months down the road, they decided to take their homegrown CRM, application and move that into the cloud as well, and bam, we got another $30,000. So kind of the overall scope of this is we took a medium-sized customer from a network perspective side. We were able to show them the benefits of moving some of their services over to the cloud. And lo and behold, we took this company and made them into what we felt was a really substantial biller for us. And as, if you can see the slides, we added an additional $88,000 in monthly recurring revenue for that customer. Jack, I used 10% for the easy math. I guess you're a little bit better at the math than I am. But that worked out to $8,800 per month for my vendor. The commissions over that contract were $316,000. And again, we're still in that initial contract, but we have a better than even chance of getting that customer to renew at the end of that 36-month contract. So quite a bit of revenue on the table with those guys. So kind of to wrap up and why I'm really kind of covering this kind of a case study is really for three reasons. One, I think it really shows that the customers are really changing the way they buy their IT services. They are kind of looking towards, you know, IT vendors and/or customers like myself or folks in the network side to start buying those things. So that's a really important thing in the changing environment that we're in now. That also shows how we can capture a much bigger market share from our customers and build a much better income stream from those customers, which again is obviously very important in the changing environment and how we have to, again, continue to capture additional revenue. And I think just as importantly to that, it shows the changing competitive landscape. So not only are you talking to your customers about your IT services, but now, you know, kind of unfortunately for all of us, everybody's talking to those customers, not only about network services, but about IT services and kind of combining all that. So, you know, in my opinion, in our opinion, you know, if we're not kind of taking advantage of that change, we're kind of leaving the door open for that competition to come in there and potentially steal our business. So, Richard, that's all I had. Thank you very much. I just wanted to, again, cover that case study and why we think it's important to you. We do have, love to get you guys looking at our services. We'll set up demos to show kind of our cloud services, and we've got a little spiff that Richard will cover at the end of the presentation that'll bring that into a little sharper focus. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you, Terry. I appreciate it. And to transition very quickly, as I mentioned, we tried to be very selective in the partners that we would bring on the call today. The reason that I chose InContact primarily starts with the fact that their entire program is built around a referral type program. And so they really understand how to get partners engaged that are used to doing other things and maybe don't understand all of the ins and outs of contact center, and they're able to take those as opportunities, really make it simple for you to go through the sales process. I'd like to introduce John Heaps, who's with InContact, a longtime friend of mine, and frankly is somebody that within the industry understands convergence in the cloud probably better than anybody else that is out there, and I think can really bring a lot of value within this discussion. With that, John, it's all yours.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that introduction, and I appreciate the time today. In just a few minutes, I'm going to take just a couple minutes to talk a little bit about InContact, who we are, and really what the opportunity is that Richard's been engaged with now for the past 12 years or so. I'm going to cover this very quickly. InContact is recognized, and again, this isn't John saying this is actually the analyst coming out. We are recognized as the cloud contact center leader with the largest market share across the world. But before I get into that, I want to give you a little bit of background behind us and really how it all started. InContact, we started as a business in 1997 as a carrier's carrier, selling long distance and telecom services. That's when I first met Richard and CarrierSales and was working with them. We shifted the business in 2001. We recognized that the landscape was changing. We recognized that the largest users of telecom were the call centers, or we could say contact centers. Furthermore, we believed that that was going to shift and go from a premise-based solution to go to more of a hosted or now cloud. That was our vision back in 2001, 13 years ago. In 2002, we launched our first product. And from 2002 to 2005, 2006, we had the early adopters coming on, people that were wanting to go forward with that new technology. It wasn't mainstream yet, so it was difficult, but we were picking up the early adopters, people that could see the advantage of going to a cloud-based system versus a premise-based. Come 2006, 2007, when we went through the recession, that's when everything shifted. That's when we saw the hockey stick on our sales, because that's when people started having difficulty, getting loans and so on. And so it went from a capital expense to people recognizing the advantage of an operating expense. So cloud was born, and that's when everything became very much adopted, what was going forward. So today, when we fast forward and you look at where InContact is today in 2014, we are a publicly traded company. We're publicly traded across NASDAQ. Our ticker symbol is SaaS, S-A-A-S, or Software as a Service. We have over 1,000 implementations. We're in over 100 countries. We currently have over 700 employees. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we are the market share leader. There's three areas of focus when you look at the left side of the screen. These are the three areas of focus that we really focus on. Number one, customer interaction management tools. This is where we talk, this is the IVR, the interactive voice response, and the ACD, automatic call distribution, how we get those calls to the customers. The thing that we'll talk with you about is how to identify these customers, who they are, and really what that advantage is. Now, along with that, when we start getting into the contact centers, there's a whole lot more than just the IVR and the ACD. Even though that is the core, there's a whole lot more that we can layer on top of that. As Richard mentioned earlier, how this literally becomes a land and expand. Once the customers come in and get a taste of this, they want to start adding the other products and services to that. These agent optimization tools include things like workforce optimization, could be survey tools, hiring tools, learning and educational type tools that we go in there and we can include with that. The third area is the network connectivity services. Again, our roots come back to we're carrier's carrier. We have our own network, utilizing all the tier 1 carriers. So when you're dealing with InContact, you literally are, it's one hand to shake bringing you in. Now, a quick example, I'm going to just give an example real quickly about, the difference between how it looks like with the premise-based solution and how that evolved. Originally, you looked at a long-distance carrier, would come in and we bring in the long distance, it would come in and hit the PBX. From the other side of that, that's where all the complexity began. Back in the 70s when we had ACD and IVR was first introduced. And then as you came along in the 80s, we had the CTI, WFM, CTI being computer telephony integration, and so on. In the 90s, we continued to have advancements in going forward. And now as we hit the 21st century, remote workers was invented or came along. Now when you look at this, this is where all the complexity begins on the other side of that PBX. Each one of those is another box, wiring all that information, and it becomes very, very complex. What we did is we've taken all that information, we put that up inside of the cloud, and so when the customer connects, they call that 1-800 number, it connects to our cloud. We're actually utilizing all this information here and terminating that call anywhere in the world. Now I'm going to take just a few seconds to give you just a quick case study. Now there's many things that you look along the side of this, you can see there's many different areas that we could go into, the different verticals that we've talked about, or that we could talk about. I'm going to take just a moment and talk about one specific area, and that is just in retail. There are many advantages that you'll find with a cloud-based solution versus premise when you get to the retail solutions. This is just a number of our customers here that I think many of you will recognize a lot of those brands. But I'm going to take just a second just to show you the difference of what happens in a retail type environment. When you look at this, this is a premise-based capacity management. When you look at, here's the spikes of calls. This could be over the different months throughout the year. And it might spike during different months. What you find in retail is it's usually between October and January, they have their peak call season. So in a premise-based solution, you have your required capacity. You've got to have a minimum of that just when you have that peak season. Because that first call that comes in over that capacity that you have is a fast busy. That's money that that customer is losing. So they actually need to increase that capacity to make sure that they have enough to hit their peak season. Furthermore, you look at the very beginning of this scale and at the very end of that scale, you've got way too much capacity built into here to make sure you hit those peak seasons. But once again, you've got to make sure you're purchasing that so you have that to cover your peaks. But there's all that money that's being wasted during all those other times you're not using that. With cloud, you're looking at all this extra capacity. But with cloud, what's able to happen is we're able to go through and just say, look, we just have to utilize during those peak seasons that they're using. For example, we can hit those peak seasons and just they're paying for what they use during those times. They can scale it back down during the other months. They can scale it up during the times they need it. Quick case study is a company called Teleflora. This is a clearinghouse where they actually transmit all the orders for flower companies. And you can imagine with Teleflora, their two busiest times of the year, number one is Valentine's Day, and number two is Mother's Day. And then they have a few peak seasons along the time. But this is where 80% of the revenue comes from, is during those 2 days right there. What happens is they ramp from 180 agents, which is just their normal capacity, to up to over 1,500 agents just for those 2 weeks during Valentine's and during Mother's Day. And then we scale that back down. Teleflora is only using the capacity and paying for the capacity they need. They can scale it up for those 2 weeks. They can bring it right back down. And then InContact provides that connectivity, and it also goes across the world. Some of the trends that are driving the cloud-based contact center, and I'll just cover these very quickly. Number one, at-home and multi-location contact centers. This has opened up a whole new advantage, because if it's multi-location or if they want their agents to work from home and remove the brick and mortar, again, we can terminate those calls anywhere. All they need is a computer, access to the internet, and a 10-digit telephone number, and we can ring that call anywhere. Some of our customers are literally, we're ringing, even though they think they're calling somewhere in the U.S. or calling 1-800, whatever that number may be, but we're turning that call into Mexico, into Finland, into Argentina, wherever the call wherever they want to ring those calls. Cloud has now opened up an underserved middle market. That mid-market, that small to medium-sized business. In the past, they couldn't afford the large premise-based equipment to compete with the big boys to get all this world-class contact center. Now with cloud, they can do that. They can get a world-class contact center. It can be a small company as small as 10 seats up to a couple thousand seats. Technology advancements, of course, aging equipment is a big one. We come across companies all the time that have an equipment that may be 15 or 20 years old, but without the capital to go forward. With cloud, we can come in and layer right on the top of their existing phone system and literally give them a world-class contact center. And then the last one is disaster recovery. Obvious, the obvious one right there. We got disaster recovery built right into that. Again, for the fact that all they need is access to a computer, a 10-digit telephone number, access to the internet with a computer, and then access to a 10-digit telephone number. So with disaster recovery, we could tell you many, many examples how people are utilizing that, staying in business, even though the location's shut down. People are now taking calls from, they're ringing up to their home, their cell phone, wherever the case may be. Many, many different opportunities. But with that, Richard, and I think my time is up, I'll turn the time back to you.
Great, thank you. And just for time, I really quickly wanted to address one provider that for me is a great example of somebody that's been doing cloud for a really long time and can help all of our VARs and also their customers make the transition to cloud without having to jump in all at once. They've been doing it since 2006, and they're now being recognized, frankly, as somebody that is doing it at a very, very high level, as they've been recognized by CRN and others. The real core with them, again, as I mentioned, cloud transition, is they're able to offer public, private, and hybrid cloud solutions on both physically dedicated servers and virtual environments. So with them, it's not about selling a particular cloud delivery. It's about understanding what the customer's trying to accomplish. And then working with them, we'll figure out what is the best fit. And really, at the end of the day, we make it easy. And the VAR is quarterbacking that all along. Customers are looking to move off-premise, and And when they've done that, they've traditionally had two options. It's either co-location or managed hosting. And with single hop, they're able to kind of mix the best of both worlds by getting them out of the hardware business, going with bare metal. That way they have complete control and management, or single hop can do it for them. But it gets them out of having to just jump all the way in. And unlike other providers, they use the same architecture across all of their offerings, so they can easily mix dedicated servers with virtual environments and do it in a hybrid solution. So again, this makes it an easy path to the cloud that's very comfortable for customers without having to fully commit to managed hosting to start and buy as much or as little as they want. And I will offer that with CenturyLink, with single hop, there are white labeling options as well. To move quickly along and try to bring this towards conclusion, this is my friend Terry Stinland gives me a hard time that sometimes I don't brag enough about what our company has been able to accomplish over the years. And so this slide is frankly to make me do that. And just simply say that, you know, we don't just run a brokerage. We do it pretty well. CarrierSales is among the largest telecom distributors in the country. And we've really focused on building best-of-breed agreements and solutions with the nation's top providers and also lately the emerging cloud providers. The size that we have allows us to negotiate the best-of-breed contracts with all the providers that we deal with. And for an example, we were one of CenturyLink's original 3 Premier Elite partners. And so what does that mean to you? What does that mean to the VAR, the MSP, our partners? It's 2 quick things. It means we have the best contracts to make sure that our partners get paid at the top levels for what they're sold, that they get paid for the length of the customer life cycle in an evergreen commission type basis, which is unique. And then second, we have better resources and executive level ties to the customers that we try to leverage to help our partners. Our value in all of this is being vendor agnostic and on the customer side of the table. No quotas for me means no quotas for my partners. You sell the best fit. We allow you to be the customer hero by just giving them exactly what they want when they want it, not having to sell something to hit a quota. We become a sourcing department to you, and therefore a sourcing department to the customer at no cost to them. So when you engage with us, we'll help you and your team uncover opportunities. For example, if you have a large customer that you haven't been able to break into, well, frankly, I think we have the credibility to help you win. We really become a seamless addition to your current portfolio. For example, if you're quoting equipment, you tend to know that your customer might be looking at cloud. They may not be ready, but they may be looking at it. So why not quote hosted side by side and let them make that decision and ensure that you win either way. We are partner only, which means we're 100% focused on our partner's success. And we have the people and the systems in place to be able to really help with the onboarding process and the training that is necessary. This is just a real quick slide on a few of my core relationships, with really the core message here being that we can get you into any key product category, whether it be cable, data center, hosted voice, software, all the data services for internet, Ethernet, international services. We have the agreements to be able to do that and do it at a high level. And how it works when you engage with us and with our partners is at all times you're the quarterback controlling the relationship. Once something is sold, the carrier bills the customer. We get paid a commission. We help do all the quote and order management, the support and insight for you. Once the customer is billed, then commissions start to be paid, and we forward that out to you the same month that we are paid. The last message on this, frankly, is just that we've done the shopping for you. We combine the customer experience across our entire base to help you know which carriers are performing well so that you can confidently recommend them to your customers. This slide is really just about, I mean, we can sell everything in the telecom sector, but right now there's some really high impact solutions that customers are asking for, and I just want to make sure that you know that you have those at your fingertips through us, whether it be hosted PBX, all of the cloud services, including VDI, cloud computing, backup and disaster recovery, including voice disaster recovery. We can do Cloud Contact Center through InContact and through other valued partners. So really all of those high-impact solutions your customers are asking for are available, including in multiple verticals. For example, if you have a healthcare focus, we have people within our team, we have carriers that understand HIPAA concerns, for example, and we can help walk through that. Really, the point of this slide, frankly, is just that our role is to make it easy. We'll do all the heavy lifting as an extension of your organization. We have programs that are available for you to make more money as you take on more responsibility. As you become more experienced with an opportunity, there's more opportunity for higher payouts for you. We'll do the quotes, we do the paperwork, we'll help coordinate the install. We also have people that do first bill reviews, and obviously we do the commissions. As I mentioned, we have onboarding, initial training. We have ongoing training available to the extent that you want to have it for you and your team. And we also have all the post-sales help and availability. We are going to be making tools available through the LMS tools through SPC that you should be familiar with, that we can make available to you. So very quickly, I wanted to touch on some incentives that we've been able to get arranged to help you get started with the carriers that we've had on the call. Terry mentioned there is availability for a demo, and if you're able to set up a demo account with a trial for a free trial for one of your customers, then you receive $250, which we're passing through 100%. If they stay on and become a customer through a 60-day period, then you receive another $750. And those trials are available to you as well, with those spiffs as well, if you want to get on and trial CenturyLink's cloud platform. Through InContact, any 3 qualified opportunities will turn into an iPad, and with Single Hop, you will receive one-time MRC of any sale. So if you sell $3,000, you will receive $3,000 up front. If it's a $30,000 sale, it'll be $30,000 up front. The last thing for me to cover is just how we get started. Obviously, we need to know what your interest level is. We need to understand what your concerns are, maybe roadblocks that you've hit before, the barriers to business that we talked about earlier. We need to find those and address those and go through them. We can talk about the different types of programs that we have and work on getting an agreement done that will help you secure your commissions. And then we get our teams together. We schedule a go-to-market call. We understand how you want to do business together, and then we orient the teams to each other and really help get things going. From there, you get us introduced to opportunities, and we'll line up. We'll take it from there. We'll line up the right providers based on your and the customer's criteria. Again, if anything, I want to stress that our goal is your success. That's the job that we're in.
So I appreciate the participation and the engagement today, team. And I'd like to also thank Richard, Jack, John, and Terry for just a great presentation and helping us all understand how to really bring to life an experience that allows our partners to add additional complementary products, services, and solutions for probably the highest margin MRR if they're doing the least amount of work than some of the other services that they're delivering. So, you know, Richard, thanks for putting together a great team and some great insights today.